Romans chapter 1, Paul does an exceptional job of explaining what salvation is. And in chapter 1, verse 16 and 17, he says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith, and as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith." I love this statement of Paul's. First of all, he's saying, I'm not ashamed. This is an awesome claim to make. My first experience with salvation was when I was about 8 years old. And my parents had decided to take their youth group that they had on a trip to the beach, to Gulf Shores. And we get to the beach and my dad has this giant inner tube. And this thing is huge. It can fit like 8 people on it, okay? This thing is massive. And the ocean was kind of shut down for the day. And so we decided to throw it in the pool. And so I'm a little kid, I'm 8 years old, and I'm hanging out with all these high school guys, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things to do at the time, was to hang out with these older guys and let them play with us and wrestle with us and all sorts of stuff. And so we're in the pool and I'm swimming around and I can't swim very well. And all of a sudden I decide I'm going to swim underneath everyone just to get a look at everybody. And so I'm this little kid that barely knows how to swim, and so I can't hold my breath for very long. And so I go underneath this big old inner tube and I'm paddling around, doggy paddling, and about 4 seconds later I need to come up for a breath of air. And so I come up for my first breath of air and I hit the top of the inner tube on my head and I bounce back down into the water. And I start paddling about. My eyes are all closed, trying to figure out where I am and what's going on. I can't see anything. All I know is I need some air. And so I search around and feel around, and I come back up a second time really quickly, paddling real quick, shaking, and I hit the tube again, and I go back underneath the water, and I can't get a breath of air. And so now I'm panicking. I'm literally scared to death. I can't see anything. I'm reaching around, throwing my arms about, trying to find something to grab onto, and I swallow water. And then I start choking. As I'm sitting there choking, my body starts jerking back and forth because I'm scared to death, and all of a sudden, a hand reaches down and grabs the top of my head, grabs my hair, and pulls me up by my hair, and he sets me on top of the inner tube. And this kid's name was Ruben. He was in high school at the time, and he pats me on the back. And I spit up all the water. And the group that was on the tube takes me to the edge of the pool. And I get off the tube, and I stand on the concrete, and I'm crying. I'm still coughing up water, and my parents come and hug me. Guys, you want to know what salvation is? It's the power of God making us righteous for all who believe. It's the power of God making us righteous for all who believe. It's by God's power that Jesus reaches down in our sin while we are drowning, while we are frantically wandering about in sin. That Jesus is the only one through the power of God that can pull us up. And he reaches down and he grabs us and gets us on dry ground. And then he paddles over and he takes us to our daddy.